Welcome, everybody. We'll call the session for September 18th to order. I guess Boyd's not going to make it, so we get to MC this one. Dave, will you do the invocation?
Yes, sir. Let's all be thankful together. Heavenly Father, just bow humbly before you. Thank you for a new day. Thank you for a restful night. Just, we appreciate the fact that you would give us guidance and wisdom for the decisions we make on this board. Just ask that we be in your will in everything that we do. Thank you for our county and our families and for protection over them in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you, Dave. Well, next up is to welcome Tom Morris to the Board of Directors. Tom, Terry, do you want to introduce him? I don't know much.
Dave, why don't you? He's your nominee,
Okay.
so why don't you introduce Tom? Because I've had the opportunity to sit down with Tom and give him the obligatory airport tour. And
Well, this is his resume right here. Tom had an illustrious career with the Internal Revenue Service.
Social Security.
Social Security Service, yeah. And served for many years in a management role that extended over a large geographical area. And then he's had a lot of other civilian-oriented, citizen-oriented position. He was president of his HOA down in Georgia. He shoots scratch golf. But he's been an active part of county government for many years. He's on the election board now also. So we're going to load him up. He's a very talented person. I'm glad to call him a friend, and I look forward to y'all getting to know him also. I didn't tell him lies, but
I don't think so. Except golf.
Well, welcome, Tom. We
Thank you.
look forward to working with you. Yolanda was kind enough to distribute the meeting minutes from June 19th. I trust that everybody's had time to look that over. Is there a motion for approval?
so moved.
Noted. Is there a second?
A second.
All right. Any discussions? All right. Take a vote. All in favor of the meeting minutes as distributed? Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries. Next up will be approval of the financial statements. Just let me know, Terry, if any of these you'd like to
September.
We also got September
Did you
5th.
get approval?
oh, you've got two sets of minutes, yes.
I did.
Yes.
You got September 5th as well.
The call meeting.
Oh, the call meeting. Okay, so we'll do that separately as well. The approval of the September 5th called meeting minutes were distributed as well. Is there a motion for approval?
Make that motion.
Noted.
Second.
Got a second? Any discussion on these meeting minutes? All in favor as is? Vote. Aye. Any opposed? No. Let's carry as well. Thank you. All right, financial statements. These were distributed as well. The proposed, this is the proposed budget, correct?
Well, no, let's start with financial statements. The budget falls
Balance statement?
later.
Okay. All right.
You get the balance sheet and profit and loss.
Got it. Yep, got all those. Okay.
And we don't print the check ledger, but y'all get that electronically. So you
Yes.
get the checks and the deposits and all of the financial information.
Correct. Okay, so for the approval of the financial statements, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Second? Any discussion? Any questions? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Balance sheet. Profit loss carries. All right, Terry, next up.
Okay, so this month, the highlight was our STEM event, the high school STEM event. We are the location for this, but it's actually a Board of Education event. Specifically, it's out of the experiential learning programs that are run by Ms. Perry. And it was just an outstanding event. Of course, we don't charge the Board of Education for use of the facility, but boy, they dominate the facility when they come in. It's amazing how she pulls that together every year. And she had over 650 students, she estimated, here. And this year she opened it up, as I said, for 2 middle schools. So we had some middle school kids get to experience that as well. So that was a very positive event for us that we're happy to host each year. The pavement marking grant, which we received from the FAA this year, is now in full swing. So we've got the construction crew on site today working that project, and hopefully they'll have that finished by the weekend or early next week. The Hangar 1 renovation project that's being paid for by the county and being managed by the county is now awarded to Stryker. We had the pre-construction meeting yesterday, and that went quite well. We're very pleased with the team so far. That looks like we've got some good expertise, that actually some people who were involved in the original construction of the hangar that now work for Stryker. So we've got some good corporate knowledge, it appears. So we're looking forward to getting that project underway. We've got a long agenda, so in the interest of time, I'll go ahead and stop there. But if anybody has any questions for me, I'll be glad to address those now.
The pavement marking, that is going to run through the weekend?
It's scheduled actually to run through next Tuesday. We're hoping that they will finish by Sunday afternoon. But contractually, they have until Tuesday.
Is that an all-day closure?
Yeah, it's all day, all night until they finish.
If requested, can they pull off or not?
Yes. So the big jet is coming in tomorrow night. We've already made arrangements to close the construction project down for enough time to get them in.
How about Stryker Construction, Jerry? What's their time frame?
The contract calls for 100 days. Right now, they're projecting early February. We're hoping to improve on that, but I think conservatively, right now, they're showing early February as the completion date.
Very good. Thank you, Terry. Motion to approve the new intergovernmental agreement, the IGA, between Paulding County Airport Authority and Paulding County, Georgia, and authorize the chairman to sign the executive said IGA on behalf of the Paulding County Airport Authority. That's a motion.
Okay, so this is the IGA that we've been need a motion, sorry.
He's got a motion on the floor now. Somebody needs to second that motion?
Second.
Okay.
Now discussion.
Now discussion, thank you. So this is the IGA that we've been working on for several months with the county. The county passed this IGA last week at their public meeting. And the primary need for a new IGA is because we are no longer pursuing commercialization, as y'all know. The previous IGA was based on the assumption that we would be generating significant revenue from the commercial traffic that would have been flowing by now had it gone forward. That never happened, so the business model that IGA was based on was flawed. And so we have now sat down with the county and negotiated a new IGA that is more reflective of reality. It's budget driven. It's only for 2 years for that reason, instead of having a 10-year agreement like we had before. The desire was that we will revisit the budget in a normal budget cycle. Probably the most significant thing to me is what this represents to the FAA. You know that we have had considerable squabbles over land, particularly the 163 acres that's been very prominent, caused a lot of angst amongst us and the FAA. And we have asked the FAA, do they have any objections if we put both co-sponsors on all property? In other words, we will redo the deed so that both Paulding County Airport Authority and the Paulding County Board of Commissioners are co-sponsors of all property. And that, in fact, delighted the FAA. We got an approval in record time for that request. So they've already approved it. So with our approval today, we can move forward with that transaction. And that will represent reality, which is we can't do anything with this airport unless the two co-sponsors are in total agreement. And this more or less guarantees that that'll be the case going forward.
And it gives the Board of Commissioners a bit more leeway with how they
Well,
are able to
It certainly gives
impact the management of the airport.
It certainly gives them more authority, and other changes in the IGA.
It adds accountability, I guess is what.
Yes.
Yes.
And we have specifically said in the IGA things like, we can take no action that financially obligates the county without their approval. So they have to, just like we do now with grants, that'll be the business model going forward for anything that obligates the airport and the county for additional expenses beyond what we contractually have in the IGA and the approved budget.
So David, would you agree that this aligns the airport in a better fashion with the taxpayers of the county?
Yes,
based on
sir,
this?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And another thing I would add is the departmental support, instead of the airport being an asset that's out there striving on their own in a lot of different areas that our departments support the entire county, be it IT or DOT or water, will integrate now so that if support is needed, Terry will request it through my operations manager. Doesn't mean that he'll immediately get it. It'll just be weighed in consideration of other county requirements. But at least he'll have it, so I think that's.
And it certainly streamlines us. It gives us economy of scale. I don't have to go buy a piece of equipment that the county already owns if I just need it one day a week or one day a month or a year or whatever. It gives us all kinds of opportunities to work together going forward. I'm really excited about
Well,
this.
and I think
change.
that's important for everybody to understand, particularly the people who are watching our video of what's going on, that what we're trying to do is align the airport and the county together in such a way that it's a symbiotic relationship and not an adversarial one as it has been over the last, what's that?
I need clarity on the first.
On who made the motion?
So David made the motion.
And you seconded it?
Harold.
Harold.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we've finished discussion now? Is that yes? Everybody?
Ready for a vote? We can take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Carries unanimously. All right, next up on the list, and you touched on this, Terry, was motion to authorize all property to be jointly titled between co-sponsors, the Paulding County Airport Authority, Paulding County Board of Commissioners, per authorization from the FAA and GDOT.
And I'll second that motion.
All right. Very good. Any discussion?
And I'll just say, this is out of an abundance of caution to make sure we've got this in the minutes. It's in the IGA, so by approving the IGA, in effect, you've already approved this anyway. But this just makes it clear to all that this board has approved the dual titling of all property at the airport. This is the entire footprint of the Paulding County Northwest Atlanta Airport, jointly to be held between the Board of Commissioners and the Airport Authority.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries. All right, now motion to approve the fiscal year 2020 budget. We have a motion.
Motion to approve the 2020 budget.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Okay, and I'll say on this, that this budget, the reason we have held up until now approving the budget, this budget goes hand in hand with the intergovernmental agreement. So it made no sense to approve a budget until we knew what the contract was between us and the county. So having now both us and the Board of Commissioners approved the intergovernmental agreement, this budget now makes sense, and that's the budget that you have in front of you.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, motion to approve lease of downstairs conference room weekly to Faith Community Church of Dallas, Inc. for a period of 1 year. Is there a motion?
So I'll make the motion, but I want to clarify this. When you say room weekly, they want to rent the room once a week for church services, correct? All right. So the motion is to approve the lease downstairs conference room for a weekly usage of Faith Community Church in Dallas.
For a period of 1 year. All right. All right, do we have a second of that motion?
Second.
Okay, second.
And
Any
y'all
other
have,
discussion?
y'all have a copy of this lease, I emailed it to you, and it actually spells out the time and all of the
Just want to make sure that the
details.
motion was.
Right, right. So they have actually already had their inaugural meeting there, just a trial run to see how it went. It was terrific. They had about 100 people in attendance. They were delighted with the facility. They would like to move forward. I think we would like to move forward. This is a good use of the building. Sunday morning, we already have another church that's meeting upstairs. This church will meet downstairs, and we don't see any conflict with that. So, yes.
I just have one question, are these leases that we're approving accounted for? in the budget?
Yes, they're,
Under what line item?
they are under.
House rental income?
No, they are under airport rental.
Airport rental?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I got one question as far as discussion. The county usually cuts in half the rental rate for 501c3 activity. I just wondered, I read or skimmed through the agreement. Is that the case with the airport? I'm just curious.
Yes. So the normal rate for these rooms would have been twice what these lease agreements are for the churches. So that has been our standard practice for not-for-profits. Well, actually, I think we limit that to not-for-profits within the county. Is that correct, or all not-for-profits? All not-for-profits. Okay. They get half of the normal rental rate, just like the county does.
Any other discussion? All right, take a vote. All those in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next one is motion to approve lease of upstairs office space in the northwest corner of the terminal building to Venture Air for a period of 1 year. Is this your old office space?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Make a motion?
So moved.
All right, second? Second? Is that possible? Can I second it?
You can say, yeah, absolutely.
Any discussion?
Let me just explain. Venture Air is Jonathan Jackson's company. He's the new charter service that will be opening up in Paulding County. He's actually purchased now a functioning charter service down in South Florida, so he is up and running. They are this week flying humanitarian flights to the Bahamas. That's their normal route for that operation from South Florida. So he is donating, I think, one of his 3 airplanes for humanitarian purposes on that. Jonathan is a good young businessman, chamber member. He's been a tenant at the airport for over a year now as he's been building this business, and he would now like to lease our old space. And this is at the full rate, full commercial rate, and this with the next one that we'll talk about in a minute to the chamber will make us 100% occupied in the building.
And Terry and I have gone round and round of what the full commercial rate should really be. But
Yeah.
I think we've pretty well gotten there now. I'm happy with his progress in that respect.
All right. Now, does Jonathan have the beach jet?
No.
What's
And
he
the
operating?
beach jet is now gone. He's got 3 Cessna 321s. Small Cessna twins.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries. All right, motion to approve lease of downstairs small office off Pilot's Lounge to Chamber of Commerce for a period of 1 year. Make a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Okay, so formally, this office was identified as the sleep room off the Pilot's Lounge. More recently, we have used that for Randy's office, Randy Foster, who's our Director of Maintenance. And upon moving across the hall into our now renovated space, Randy was able to move upstairs with us, which made this office vacant. And I wish Kerry had been here. Kerry got tied up on a return leg with FedEx, so he's not going to be able to be with us this morning. But he and Stacy have had extensive discussions about the use of this room and the utilization that the chamber is interested in. And I believe Kerry would tell you if he were here that he's comfortable with what the chamber wants to do. And it's essentially an empty office right now, so it makes sense to us. It makes sense to the chamber. And it's not a lot. It's, I think, $125 or $150. I'd have to look back at the lease to be sure. But it's a very small office, but it would give them a presence at the airport for a hospitality suite, especially for events like the Super Bowl and when we've got anticipated heavy commercial or charter or corporate traffic coming in.
Take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So everything is 100% rented, occupied in the terminal.
Yes, we got one more to go.
Well, that's just a Board of Elections.
That's just going to be
It's
as
one day,
needed.
yes.
Yeah, okay. The next motion is to approve the lease of the downstairs conference room to the Board of Elections for the purpose of providing a public polling location.
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
This is a non-revenue lease, but the Board of Elections does require that we have a lease in place so that they're guaranteed of having the location secured. And we have emailed this lease around. All of y'all have had an opportunity to see it as well. And to me personally, I consider it a civic duty to support in any way we can the public voting. And since the terminal building is a public building, I think it's perfectly appropriate. This will require us to take a couple of unique security measures. Because of the protection of the machines, we will have to change the locks on the building in such a way that we can guarantee that those machines are protected during the 24 hours or so that they're being set up for the polling. And I've already looked into that. It's not going to be, it's under $2,000 to rekey all of the 9 outdoor doors that we have to make it where we can secure this space. I think that's a reasonable expense for us to undertake in order to meet the need of the Board of Elections with this space.
Terry, this is the downstairs.
The downstairs
large-
conference room. So we have 2 conference rooms that we lease out, rent out.
Right,
We don't lease them, we rent them.
Right.
Okay? So during a polling event, which is typically on a Tuesday, they would have the room for the entire day and the 24 hours preceding. So they'll come in, they'll set up the machines, they'll be there for the voting day the next day, and then they'll take the machines at the end of the day.
Does the Board of Elections have any budget to maybe split that cost with us?
That's a facility change. I don't think it would be, I think that's something we should do. We haven't changed the locks on that building in a long time anyway, and I think that's appropriate for us to do.
and there won't be any interference with the Faith Community Church's meetings, right?
No, they're on Sunday voting, unless we go to Sunday voting. And this is not an early polling location, this is an actual voting day location. We have talked in the past, remember, about utilizing this space for early voting. They never did that, but they now want to come back and use it for a voting day location. And that's what they've passed, and that's what they're asking us to approve.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, next up is review of the strategic plan.
I'm going to ask that we table this one. Kerry was instrumental in this one and wanted to present, and since he's not going to be here, if y'all are okay with that, I'd like to postpone that for 30 days.
Table again?
Just need to table it to a specific meeting.
Our next meeting.
Next meeting.
So the motion is to say table it next meeting.
Okay. So the motion is to table the review of the strategic plan until our next meeting. Do we have a motion for that?
Motion.
All right, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we will table the review of the strategic plan.
So I make a motion that we go into closed session and discuss real estate litigation.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, we'll call the session back to order. There's no action taken in the closed session, except for the vote to approve meeting minutes. And we'll entertain any comments or discussions or questions at this time. If we don't have any, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Okay.